welcome. Glad you are with us. We're going to be joined by Anni Cyrus, Andy Woods, Shahram Hadian. They're all joining us right now. Did you see who I interviewed last night? I interviewed a young man by the name of Ray. He lives in Germany, and he was and I guess we're going to put this on the Facebook page of Annie too at the same time, guys. He was a MEK fighter for 18 years. He spent the first year of his life in a prison in Iran because his mother and father were arrested. And he spent the first year of his life in a horrific prison. And his story is absolutely stunning. How did we find him, Logan? You just found him on X. He searched MEK, found him on X in Germany. We reached out to him. He responded immediately. And he was on last night for close to an hour. His story is something that should be a book, a documentary, a movie. And what's ironic is that he now is helping us as Americans understand the dangers of groups like MEK, this Marxist Islamist group that is basically, I think, just completely implanted themselves inside the Republican Party, the GOP, the America First crowd. It's shocking because he brought us his personal story, and it is heartbreaking. He finds out, and this has been put up there by Human Rights Watch. He told us on the air about Human Rights Watch documenting the horrors of MEK. He mentioned that his father, who was working with MEK, then had to leave Iran because of the fallout between MEK and the Ayatollah. He's over in Iraq. He's being, I guess, their group was being used by our government to help fight the Iran-Iraq war. Saddam Hussein was using them as well, obviously, to fight the Iran-Iraq war. And he finds out later that his father was killed by MEK. The group he's been fighting with, he finds out they killed his dad. And he mentioned a Human Rights Watch report. Live on the air, we went and looked it up. And there it was. And we showed the screenshot of it live on the air. His story was unfolding as we were literally on the air, fact-checking what he was saying. Because that's what we do when we are live on the air a lot of times. That's why this computer is here and I go to things. I'm fact-checking my guest in real time because we want to be honest and truthful. And we want to show the documentation for what they're saying. I don't know what people that are in the GOP America First crowd are going to do when it comes to continuing to verbally support MEK, because my inbox is filling up. My inbox is filling up with emails. I'm getting texts. I'm getting phone calls from people saying, when are these people going to listen to that story and realize they have to stop this for the sake of their own credibility? And then after that interview, Anni Cyrus had a debate with Claire Lopez, who we've worked with for many years and agree with her on so many vital issues. But she came on to defend the idea of MEK and why they're a group that can have support on the ground in Iran. But yet we heard from Ray. Ray, the former MEK fighter, said, no, there is no support for MEK on the ground in Iran. No, whoever's telling you that is misinformation. They're not in the streets shouting for MEK or NCRI to come back to be there. If they're doing anything, they're talking about Prince Pahlavi. And how many of you today saw the press conference by the prince? Well, when I found out it was happening, I got my cup of coffee and I said, I'm watching this live in real time. By the way, how many languages does he speak? I think I counted him speaking Farsi, English, and I think he was speaking French. I said at least 3. I'll ask Andy about this. I want to share with you before I bring in my guest, 2 of them former Iranians. Remember, Hadian's dad was high-ranking in the Iranian military, got out 6 weeks before the fall of the Shah because he saw where this was going. Anni Cyrus, born and raised in Iran, sold as a child bride, trafficked. That's what that means. And thanks to the help of her grandmother, escaped through Turkey, where she waited and bided her time to eventually come into America. And she's a proud American Iranian, as is Shahram Hadian. And then Dr. Andy Woods will bring us some of the biblical perspective as well on all of this that's happening. Let me bring you first a clip from the Prince today in his press conference, which was just excellent. Here we go.
The battle in Iran today is not between reform and revolution.
نزاع در ایران بین اصلاحات و انقلاب نیست. نبرد میان اشغال و رهایی است. و مردم ایران.
All right, we're going to find a better clip. I didn't realize that had that dual translation going. We'll find a better clip. Logan, check and see, because I think Annie sent me a few because I asked her for some. And with that being said, let me bring in Anni Cyrus, Shahram Hadian, and Dr. Andy Woods. Guys, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
I want to go first
Thank you, Brandon.
Hi, guys. I want to go to you first, Shahram. I don't know if you had the chance to watch last night's interview with the former MEK fighter of 18 years or to hear the excellent press conference today by Prince Pahlavi. But give us your thoughts on what you have heard.
Yeah, I've not had a chance to watch the whole thing. I've watched several clips, including the part where he talks about the lie that his mother told him about how his father died, that his father had a heart attack, but that was a lie, that his own family lied to him, that his father was actually executed in Iraq. Unbelievable. Incredible courage, incredible testimony from this young man coming out and exposing this. And so that was phenomenal that you had him on. That's the type of reporting that needs to happen with regards to this so-called counter-resistance movement in Iran. The Iranians do not want another Islamic governance. The Iranians do not certainly want a Marxist Islamic governance, which is what MEK, or now they call it, what is their new name? The PMOI, right? The People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran. So that was excellent. Thank you for having him on. He should be all over Fox News. He should be all over Newsmax. He should be all over right side, whatever, all the conservative media. Steve Bannon, all these guys should be interviewing Ray Toribi, I think, wasn't it? Toribi, that you had last night. Excellent, excellent. And that blows everything out of the water. It blows everything out of the water with support. Nobody in their right mind should be supporting MEK right now.
Yeah, well, I don't know what people are going to do because we're getting a lot of traction with that interview, with the clips we're now sending everywhere. I was getting amazing feedback last night from people like Hadia Meramani, who, of course, was in the FBI, working inside the FBI, working in the State Department. So we're getting incredible feedback. And Ray's going to be coming back. And Ray is also, Annie, as you know, and I encouraged you to reach out to Ray. And I think you're now communicating with him. And Ray is going to help us bring on more of the former MEK fighters who are now warning about the dangers of MEK or NCRI. Pick it up on last night's interview and what you thought of that interview.
Yes, Ray is definitely going to help us bring more of the former MEK soldiers, and he's very happy about your offer, by the way, to make a documentary about them and the history of MEK, which I'm also grateful for your idea. I watched it. I think I also told him, I think it was by far one of the most timely interviews that had to take place. Which I want to say, why is no other network interviewing people like Ray, or for that matter, me and Shahram or Hadian? But I'm glad. I'm very glad he, as he said on your interview, he has passed the point of the fear, the anger, and he's courageous enough to do what he does. I can absolutely understand what he feels when he does it, but I'm glad he has the bravery to do it, because every detail he was giving you is what all of us Iranians have been screaming on top of our lungs. And as you notice, and your audience noticed, there are people like Claire Lopez who will flat out look you in the eye and say, that was all a mistake. Everybody got MEK wrong. I guess even those who were mistreated, tortured, their parents taken away from them inside Ashraf camp also got it wrong. But I'm glad the truth is coming out.
Well, that was quite the debate between you two last night. That's now available at worldviewtube.com, I'm pretty sure, right, guys? It's going up right now, worldviewtube.com. That was great. Again, we love doing debates. Now, speaking of debates, yesterday we were willing to allow a co-director of, I guess you would call NCRI/MEK, to come on the broadcast with Colonel Manus on our network, Worldview Tube. All we said is, look, I'm not a fan of MEK. I don't support MEK. I am warning about MEK, and I don't want to give a platform to Marxist and Islamist unchallenged. So if you want to interview these kind of people, we need to be offering up the other side. So Colonel graciously said, hey, I'll have on Hadian Miramati. And our guy in the control room got the co-director of NCRI/MEK on the line. And apparently when he saw Hadian come into the Zoom meeting, or I don't know, he saw our lower third and realized who we are. I don't know. But our guy in the control room said he disconnected. He said he reached over and looked like he disconnected the call, like he was done, hung up. Whether that's true or not, that's the perception, the opinion of our board operator. They waited for him to come back into the meeting so that he could be interviewed. That was not going to be a head-to-head debate. He was going to present his side, and then Hadian would give her side. That never happened. I don't know that we can find one video where any of the NCRI/MEK, this Marxist Islamic group, has ever debated anyone live on the air. Why? What are they afraid of? Shahram?
Well, I think they're afraid of two things. One, they're afraid of being exposed for what they are, which are Islamic Marxist. Are they against the regime? Sure, but they're, as I've tried to explain MEK for the average person out there, it would be the equivalence of us sending Zoran Mamdani to run Iran. That would be the equivalent of us saying, okay, the regime collapses, the people now are screaming for liberation and freedom, and we send Zoran Mamdani, and he's going to be the new transitional leader of Iran. That's who MEK is. So I think that's one. The second thing I'm concerned about, Brandon, especially when we see former analysts, former military supporting MEK, I'm concerned about what's going to be exposed, the hands of our government working with MEK. Let's not forget, they worked in Iraq against Iran. So are there secrets that our government doesn't want to come out about MEK that would say America has been working with them for many, many years, maybe back to the 60s?
And then I want to ask Annie about the money. Does this group have lots of money? And are there some people, I guess, might be being paid, others maybe are not being paid, but I want to get to that. And then we're going to bring in the biblical worldview and Bible prophecy perspective to all of this. I'm getting so many Christians around America saying, wow, Brandon, this seems to be setting the stage in some ways for Bible prophecy. We'll ask Dr. Andy Woods about that. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage, and now, real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. I hope you'll go to worldviewtube.com. Grab that interview I did last night with the former MEK child warrior. I hope you'll watch it, and I hope you then will tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, spread it everywhere, folks. It will blow your mind. Logan said, I think that's one of the best interviews we've ever done. He walked out of the room. One of the other guys in the control room walked into the studio and said, not knowing what Logan had just said, I think that was one of the best interviews you've ever done. So that was coming right out of the control room, and who've seen so much over the years. And I think you may agree. And you need to understand who this group is, MEK, from the guy that was on the inside. And we're going to be adding in more MEK, former MEK fighters to warn about, and who are warning and want a platform to warn about this group, who seem to have penetrated their way into our U.S. government and into the conservative, so-called America First crowd. How can we stand and criticize the new mayor of New York City, Mamdani, and his Islamist Marxist ideology, but say to the Iranian people, oh, but we're all in favor of you guys living under that kind of government? Are you serious? Or is this because, hey, we got someone we think we can control? So let's, again, force upon a nation what the government of America wants versus what the people want. And I don't see them in the streets shouting for the NCRI MEK group. I do see quite a bit of support on the ground for Prince Pahlavi. Now, the prince has said, look, I'm going to be an interim leader, and then we'll go from there. And he's laid out a plan, and it's a detailed plan, from the Phoenix plan to other plans. There's plenty of meat here to go through, not just a skeleton plan. I want to play a couple clips and get a response from all of our panel members today on the excellent press conference that I watched. And he took questions. And he took questions from, it's sometimes critics, it sounded like, and he took them straight on. I want to play one of the clips. Go ahead, guys.
The people have not retreated. Their determination has made one thing clear. They are not merely rejecting this regime, they are demanding a credible new path forward. They have called for me to lead. The bond between me and the Iranian people is not new. It's been with me since birth, and it cannot be broken. Even in exile, I pledged my life to the service of the Iranian nation. When Saddam Hussein invaded Iraq, I volunteered as a fighter pilot to defend my country against his invasion. Today, as my compatriots call on me for leadership, I reaffirm my lifelong pledge by stepping in to lead the movement that will take back our country from the anti-Iranian hostile force that occupies it and kills its children.
And that's just one of many clips. Annie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess I heard him speaking in Farsi, English, and I think I heard him speaking French. Did I not?
Yes.
How many languages does he speak?
Fluently, to switch in between those three: Farsi, okay, English, and French. And I should mention, it's not just him. Our queen and all of her children and the entire family of Crown Prince Pahlavi are fluent on all three languages.
Okay. Now,
yes.
You want to say something, Annie?
Yes, I just want to add something. To a degree, I agree with you, Shahram John, but I think we are downplaying MEK by comparing them to Zoran Mamdani. Zoran Mamdani is a much safer player than Maryam Rajavi.
Well, that's very interesting you say that, because last night I said to Ray, I said, Ray, what would a regime under MEK NCRI guys look like? He said, far worse than the regime they have now. And I said, yes. Why? And he went on in great detail to explain their behavior inside their own organization, and people will just have to go to Worldview Tube and watch it. He says it would be worse. They'd be going from the frying pan into the fire if you go with this group.
Yes, I agree, 100%. So I just wanted to make that clear. Though Mamdani should not be mayor of New York City, but he is a still much safer player on the most simple way, though he is. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I wasn't using that example to give the severity. I'm giving that example, Brandon, because the average person out there, when we use these these acronyms.
They don't know what we're talking about.
They don't know what we're talking about. So I'm just using that as an imminent example, because people are waking up in America going, oh my gosh, we elected this guy as mayor of New York. So I'm just trying to say, and also we don't know how worse he's going to get, right? We don't know as he takes power. But no, I absolutely agree that, and that's what I was saying earlier. We have to remember that this infiltration of MEK goes back into the 1960s. Well, the communist infiltration was starting in the 1940s in Iran, but they've been an undermining force for what was that 66 years. So this is not a new group. And one more thing I was going to add, Brandon, I know you're going to bring Dr. Woods on, that deals with prophecy. We haven't also talked about that MEK is vehemently anti-Zionist.
Yes.
So they will be a horrible, they will be the opposite of what the Iranian people are now, which is Iranians are for the nation of Israel. They believe that Israel is an ally. They believe that Israel is for them. They were chanting in June of 2025, thank you, Israel, for attacking. So that's one other piece that I just wanted to bring in, that not only are they Marxist and Islamic, they're also vehemently anti-Zionist, which, by the way, I think this is one of the reasons why they're getting the support in this administration from the likes of J.D. Vance. Because remember, the Groypers, the Nick Fuentes influence, the Tucker Carlson influence within this administration are also vehemently Jew-hating anti-Semites.
And you got Tucker Carlson back at the White House today, I'm reading.
Yeah.
And, I guess Tucker Carlson was being played on Iranian state television the other night. Wow. Here's a social media post by President Trump. I greatly respect the fact that all scheduled hangings, which were to take place today, over 800 of them, have been canceled by the leadership of Iran. Thank you. Now, many people are believing that President Trump is now not going to strike, but then others are saying, wait a minute, it's going to take the USS Abraham Lincoln and several other things a week to 10 days to get into the region, move our military out of the way, that a strike is still coming. What are your thoughts on that, Annie?
If you don't mind, I want to address what you just showed, because it needs to be addressed. So which one is it? The illegitimate regime or a great leadership? President Trump, we genuinely need you to pick a side. We need you to pick a side. Are they legitimate, great, good leadership in Iran, or are they some barbaric monsters? Stop flip-flopping. And by the way, with the number of shares you get every time you say things like this, let me inform you, I personally have confirmation that 3 people in my hometown of Karaj were executed yesterday morning. That is just my street behind where I grew up. It's Rajai Shah prison. I've been to that prison myself, and they hung 3 people yesterday morning, being last night, 2 nights ago our time. So when you go out and put lies on your through social, thanking the liars and the killers, I don't know what you're achieving, but I know you're not helping those you promised 4 times you're coming to help. You're helping the killers of those people. Now, as far as the strike, I say exactly what I said last night. I pray that they don't go in. I pray President Trump doesn't give the green light, because the time they're buying now is to prep MEK as a transitional government. I very much prefer they don't get involved, where we can, as Crown Prince Pahlavi said on his press conference today, almost word by word of what I said on your show 2 nights ago. If the help comes, great. If it doesn't, we keep fighting.
Do we have that clip, Logan? So the prince said, look, if help comes, great. If not, we're still going to keep fighting. This regime is coming down.
Yes.
Now, before I bring in Dr. Woods here, let me ask you, Annie, to tell us about this lady here who testified at the United Nations the other day. And I think you're going to try to help me set up an interview with her. This woman, I don't think would agree with me on many issues. I think she's more of a leftist, correct?
She is very much a liberal, yes.
She's very much a liberal. But why is it important what she's saying? And we're going to play it.
Well, she is a liberal, but she is one of the, as she would put it, one of the happiest, loudest mouth against Islamic regime herself. She, in America, there was a plot of kidnapping her as an Iranian American investigator. She was on IRGC hit list. Thankfully, FBI offered her protection. She accepted it. She was in safe house being protected, her and her family. Through investigation, through traps, they were able to get the 2 Russians hired by IRGC and paid by IRGC they changed plan. No more kidnapping, just take her out. They arrested the to-be assassins of her. The court just concluded less than a month ago in New York, both found guilty and both admitted they got the money from IRGC. So, and she was at the UN speaking on behalf of Iranian people, not on policy, not on political party, no, on immediate need to topple the regime of Iran by testifying of what they were planning to do to her.
Now, if I play this, I haven't heard it. There's no cursing,
English.
Right? There's no cursing,
No,
right?
no.
Okay, here we go. Let's play it, guys. Here we go.
Nation has failed to respond with the urgency this moment demands. The Secretary General himself has not spoken publicly against the massacre unfolding in Iran. Only a written statement through his spokesperson, silence at this moment, send a signal, send a message to the killers of young protesters alongside their family members. I strongly believe that the regime in Iran heard the clear message from the Secretary General. I think the members of this body have forgotten the privilege and responsibility of sitting in this room. Secretary General, I know you hear me. I want to directly talk to you. Why are you afraid of the Islamic Republic? Millions of unarmed Iranians, innocent and unarmed protesters, have been silenced with bullets, mass arrest, prison, and a total communications blackout. I now address the representative of the Islamic Republic directly. You have tried to kill me 3 times. I have seen my would-be assassin with my own eyes in front of my garden in my home in Brooklyn. In the United States of America, in the courthouse, I have seen my would-be assassin confessing that they have been hired by the Revolutionary Guards to end my life. My crime? Simply echoing the voice of innocent people that you killed. Let me be very clear. The Islamic Republic behave like ISIS, and the Islamic Republic must be treated like ISIS. This is how you can save lives. Thank you so much.
And we'll come back. Isn't that interesting? Annie said the IRGC hired Russians to do this. Very interesting, folks. Here we are warning about the IRGC. They're here in America. They're working with other countries to silence and eliminate people speaking truth. That should send chills up all of our spines. We'll be back.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. And welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. Be sure to stay tuned for Crosstalk with Jim Schneider. Coming up at the top of the hour, 2 p.m. Central on the VCY America Radio Network. If you don't have one of their terrestrial stations in your market, you'll find them at vcy.org. vcy.org. I want to go to the issue of Carrie Lake, my friend Carrie Lake, who I've interviewed several times, including in person, who's over the Voice of America. Is she or that group limiting any programming that would be needed to encourage and get out the truth about what's happening in Iran? I want to ask that of Anni Cyrus. But first, let's bring in Dr. Andy Woods. Normally, he joins us here each and every Friday as we do a Middle East Bible prophecy update. I said, no, let's continue to have him on this with the breaking news because he can bring some biblical prophecy perspective here, because a lot of people are asking me about that. They're watching the interview from last night with Ray and these other interviews, and they keep bringing it back to this seems as though the end time scenarios are being set up. Let's get a response from him. Dr. Woods, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Brandon, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Give us the some Bible prophecy, biblical response for Christians in America and around the world watching and listening when it comes to why we're being so bold, why we're being so adamant about standing with the persecuted church in Iran, the underground church in Iran, and even the people we may not agree with on some political issues like that lady at the UN. We don't want to see people who are speaking about liberty and freedom and free speech. And even if they speak about things we don't agree with, we value life. And we can't be sitting here acting benign when the IRGC is reportedly hiring Russians to come in and kill Americans. These are all biblical issues, are they not, Pastor?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind listening to all this is Daniel chapter 10, verses 12 and 13, and verses 20 and 21, which clearly teach that there's a demonic presence over Persia. The angel that came to answer Daniel's prayer request, who we think was Gabriel, had to fight through a demon. And you'll find that all in those verses that I just described. And the thing to understand about demons, fallen angels, is they don't die. Luke 20, verses 35 and 36 says that. So as far as I can tell, that demon is still there. So when I hear all this stuff about Iran and what the Iranian regime is doing to its own people and how Iran, which used to be named Persia, is the number one state sponsor of terror, I can't help but think about this demon that's over Persia. Keep in mind, I'm not saying anything about the Persian people, two of which are on this split screen with us today. I'm talking about the regime of Persia, and it was the regime of Persia under the book of Esther that plotted the extermination of the Jews through a guy named Haman. And had it not been for the intervention of God with Mordecai and Esther, etc., in the book of Esther, the Jews wouldn't have been saved. So this whole thing that's going on here, it's kind of cyclical, recurring, and it has to do with the angelic conflict. And the second thing I will draw people's attention to is Ezekiel 38 and 39 very clearly predicts Persia or Iran will invade Israel in the last days. And so I'm not looking for prophetically the character of Iran or Persia in terms of the regime to change. But what's interesting about that prophecy is the invasion will occur during a time of peace. Now, let me read to you, you guys have been quoting from, let me get his name right, Pahlavi. This is what he said on his Twitter feed. You know, this is just a couple sentences. He says, in diplomacy, relations with the United States will be normalized, and our friendship with America and her people will be restored. That's if he comes to power. The state of Israel will be recognized immediately. We will pursue the expansion of the Abraham Accords into the Cyrus Accords, bringing together a free Iran, a free Israel, and the Arab world. So I think what could happen as a result of all of these happenstances that we've seen recently is there could be a temporary time of peace where Iran is brought into the Abraham Accords. It's just we're going to have a different name for it. We're going to call them the Cyrus Accords. But I want people to understand that even if that happens, it's not a long-term peace, according to Bible prophecy. That demon in Daniel chapter 10 is still there. And the core character of the Persian or Iranian regime will not change. And they will be one of the invaders. In fact, perhaps the principal invader of the land of Israel in the last days.
Which brings up the question regarding the Bible says something in Daniel about the Antichrist ripping out 3 leaders by the roots. Is it possible? I don't know when you think Gog Magog occurs in the prophetic stage. Many theologians agree on 99% of everything and disagree on timing. But is it possible you see a free Iran and then Antichrist shows up on the scene and starts pulling certain leaders out by the roots?
Well, that's possible, but the clearest verses I know of, which are in Ezekiel 38 and 39, predict Persia's going to invade. So whatever peace is achieved through these things that we're talking about, and I'm looking at this prophetically. My heart and soul is with the Iranian people. I mean, I would love for them to achieve freedom, and maybe they'll get some taste of it. But prophetically, in terms of the long run, in terms of the big picture, in terms of that demonic presence spoken of in Daniel 10 that hasn't gone anywhere, I'm not seeing any real long-term change.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is...
If anything, it's a temporary peace, which may fit the scenario better. Okay,
so what I'm hearing is, and I'm going to come to you, Pastor Hadian, because you're also a pastor and an Iranian American. We could have a time of peace and the region still has turmoil. And in other words, we could be seeing the Middle East continuing to have the constant turmoil.
Well, the Middle East will continue to have the constant turmoil because the majority of the Middle East is under Islamic control.
I need to clarify. I'm speaking more about Iran, yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, specifically. And I actually thought a lot about what Dr. Woods is saying, because I 100% agree with the assessment on Persia. And Hedy and I were talking about this over the last couple of weeks. What I see, though, is that there's a possibility here that, because remember the Jeremiah 49 prophecy also about Elam. Elam goes back before Persia. Elam is even, it's the ancient name before even Persia. And it talks about the bow of Elam being broken, the might of Elam being broken, the people being scattered. And then it says in the latter days, God will restore the people and then set up his throne, which is a remarkable statement because that's the only other place that's spoken of other than in Jerusalem, in my reading of Scripture. So we are also speculating that two things could happen. One is what Dr. Wood says, which is that this will be a temporary peace. If MEK takes over, then Dr. Wood's the scenario is 100%.
You're right. You're still on track then for Ezekiel 38.
You're still on track. Yeah, if MEK takes over and the U.S. backs MEK, we're right on track. And in fact, again, as Andy said, it's worse
and let me just say, if we do that as a nation, Genesis 12 verse 3 kicks into high gear for us. We're in big trouble.
Further judgment. But here's what could happen. Now, again, I'm just throwing it as a possibility, because Elam geographically is only that southwestern portion of Iran, the current geography. And of course, during Ezekiel's time, when he's getting the prophecy, Persia was much broader. Well, no, it wasn't fully there yet. But I'm saying the geography doesn't necessarily mean the current geography. So here's a possible scenario very quickly. There's a liberation. There's a point of freedom. But then there's going to be this turmoil. And what if modern-day Iran splits? And you have a southern, southwestern portion, which remains Elam, which is going to remain supportive. And then Persia, the rest of it, does what Ezekiel 38 says it's going to do. And I agree with Dr. Woods 100%. Persia is named and will be a part of that coalition that is going to come against Israel. So that's just another hypothesis and another scenario where you got kind of three things. One, we stay on track and nothing happens, and this regime continues to do what it's doing, which fulfills 38, 39. 2, MEK takes over, continues, or 3, maybe there's a split and Persia and Elam separate, and now you can fulfill both prophecies at the same time. Just a thought.
And I'll add a fourth, is the Jeremiah prophecy about the millennium. That's a fourth.
Well, certainly the throne, that's true. It could be also about the millennium. That's a very good point, because when it's saying in the latter days, so as time is wrapping up in the tribulation, is that going to be certainly where the Lord sets up his throne both in Elam and in Jerusalem during the millennial reign? Absolutely.
Or sets up a throne to oversee judgment in that region.
Yes. I'm just saying the point is that nowhere else in the Bible does it talk about him establishing a throne, other than, of course, in Jerusalem. So it's just it's a remarkable statement.
Yeah.
Specifically, and I think this explains why there's been that unique symbiotic relationship between Persia and the Jewish people, and how God has used both.
Well, let's go back to that and bring Annie in. Annie, you're the one that showed us pictures, and I think we have them, where the Prince Pahlavi's daughter married a Jewish man. I mean, she kind of could come to the forefront, almost kind of an Esther-like figure with the relationship between Iran and Israel. Yes, would you speak to that, Annie?
Yes, it was actually very shortly before the 12 Days War when the wedding was scheduled, and she did marry an American Jewish businessman, which I can't confirm, but one of the things I'm almost certain of is, there's a conversion normally if there's a Jewish wedding. So yes, I can confirm that she
in other
has
words,
married a Jewish.
She may be have converted to Judaism. And by the way, I see no evidence, which again, I'm not an expert on the Prince Pahlavi's family, but I don't see evidence that he even practices Islam, the prince.
There is no evidence, and it's easy to find out evidence-wise. You just saw the family picture. Nobody wears the hijab.
No one's wearing a hijab, are they?
That aside, nobody's being super modest either. I mean, they look kind of very fancy. Also, if you look at any of the family pictures during Christmas season, you'll see the Christmas pictures in the house. Christmas decorations by the Christmas tree. You see during the Nowruz, which is a Persian New Year, on their Nowruz table, we don't have a Nowruz tree, we have a Nowruz table. You don't see a Quran on it. That's the thing. You just look at their normal life and posts. You don't see a Quran. You don't see a citation of Quran. You go to their social media, you never see them say Happy Ramadan. So.
Wow. Yeah, but then the GOP people and some of the RNC, American First people, want to throw in with MEK/NCRI, who have quoting the Quran all over their website if you go there right now.
Well, when you have the Mujahideen in your name, right?
Well, yeah, tell us what that means real quick before the computer takes it away. What does that name mean?
That's a jihad fighter. That's where the name jihad comes from. The name jihad comes from the Mujahideen. That's jihad.
But that's just an old name, we've been told. I'm like, well, then maybe you want to change your name.
Change your name, you fools.
We'll be back with more, including clips by the Prince's press conference today. The Prince Pahlavi. We'll be right back.
Life is too short to spend a single moment spinning in laundry worries. Take a load off your mind with the all-new Norwex Powerzyme laundry detergent. This natural detergent harnesses the power of enzymes and plant-based surfactants to leave fabrics fresh and clean without fillers, brighteners, synthetic fragrances, bleach, or harsh chemicals. So go ahead, have your cake and eat it too. More than ever, stressful stains have met their match. Powerzyme's fast-acting enzymes break down organic substances while natural surfactants loosen locked-in dirt and oil, removing residue, stains, and odors with ease. With 91% bio-based ingredients, this dermatologist-tested hypoallergenic formula is suitable for sensitive skin types and delivers a safe and effective clean that won't harm you or the planet's waterways. Less time spent worrying about laundry means you can focus on what truly matters. Norwex Powerzyme Laundry Detergent. Discover the power of nature and load up on confidence.
Where should we begin? War everywhere? That's just...
All right, let me go to that. That's Candace Owens. So let's go to this clip. I haven't heard it. She's not cursing, right, guys? Okay, here we go.
Where should we begin? War everywhere? That's just what we're doing. It definitely seems like land grab everywhere. And it doesn't seem like it. That's what's happening. So many people, oh my gosh, you won't believe what these radicals are doing. And of course, it just seems to be that whenever Bibi Netanyahu's around the corner, like, hey, I want that piece of land, suddenly our media starts telling us, hey, you wouldn't believe how free these people are trying to get in Iran. These people are really, we need to free the Iranians. Oh, they've been living in oppression. Bibi is over here like, ooh, land. Oh, no, really? It's about spreading democracy. Code word, that's military code word for dropping bombs and stealing a bunch of stuff that isn't ours, a bunch of land that isn't ours. Anyways, war with Iran, it's now back on the table firmly. Why? Because, well, Israel wants it. I find it so funny when people make the argument, well, you wouldn't want to live in this country in the Middle East. You wouldn't want to live in Iraq. And obviously, the West is the best. Yeah, do you want to know why I wouldn't want to live there? Why I want to live in Libya? We want to live in Iraq? Because we bombed them. And we wouldn't stop bombing them. We bombed them pretty much into the actual dark ages. That's the goal of these things, is to make it so these people can't live ahead and live in poverty. So yeah, no, you're right. I wouldn't want to live there because neocons insist on bombing and taking these countries' resources and controlling them therein.
To the people of Iran, we stand with you tonight. We stand for you taking back your country from the Ayatollah, a religious Nazi, who kills you and terrorizes the world. We pray for you. We support you. Donald J. Trump is not Barack Obama. He has your back. And to the Ayatollahs, you need to understand, if you keep killing your people who are demanding a better life, Donald J. Trump is going to kill you.
Every time you see that guy on TV, it really just reminds you of like getting pulled over for DUI with your drunk girlfriend in the passenger seat screaming at the cop, "You can't do this! Take your hands off him!"
All right, so that's Tucker Carlson. I'm not a huge fan of Lindsey Graham in some regards, but, you know, when you're right, you're right. I mean, what is wrong with saying Shahram, the Ayatollahs are murdering their people and we should come help them. But of course, I'm concerned now. We've been saying that, and I'm still getting some video footage that looks like maybe Annie out of the region where this is still going on, the murder of these folks. I mean, at what point are we going to trust the government anymore when they tell the freedom fighters somewhere, yeah, get in the street, stand up, we're going to come help, and they're being slaughtered? I don't know how many American Iranians are in America. What, 2 million? How many are there here? 2 million?
It's more than 2 million, but
more than that. Much more than that. There's over 1 million just in Southern California.
Okay, so you're talking about several million. Okay, let's keep this up.
By the way, many Trump supporters. Many
that's where I was going.
There was
many former.
You guys are getting ahead of me. You're both reading my mind.
Yeah, we're going to be on the former list pretty soon.
You're both reading my mind. What I'm saying is let's keep this up, and you watch those several million former Trump supporters who are Iranian Americans. They won't be voting in the midterms, and then let's see how life goes for your administration when you have all of these Marxists come back into power, get the majority, and they start putting poor President Trump back up for impeachment and going after his administration and going after Pete Hegseth and going after every other administration official who's been standing up trying to restore the republic. I don't understand this, Annie.
Well, I want to make something very clear so there's no misunderstandings here or misrepresentation. I am not becoming a former Trump supporter because he's not striking Iran. Becoming a former Trump supporter because you do not make a promise, tell people to stay on the streets and not show up. There is a difference. Lack of action, I was expecting. But encouraging people to go and die while knowing you're not going to show action, that is my problem. I want to be very clear here. As I said for the last 2 days, don't go. Don't help them. Now, also, I want to point something out for anyone who might have missed it. Know your people. Candace Owen literally just stepped on every drop of blood of every Iranian who have died for last 47 years for freedom, just because her hatred for Bibi is stronger than any humanity left in her. And Tucker Carlson just compared millions of Iranians empty-handed on the streets to a drunk girlfriend on the passenger side. Pay attention who these people are.
So
there is nothing left in them.
He has said that he hates the Christian Zionists the most. Isn't that what he has said? I hate those people the most. And now he compares the poor Iranians like that. And now here we have a...
By the way, Brandon, real quick, I was going to say, Annie, I figured out who the regime is getting their talking points from. When the regime says people are not being killed, people are not being oppressed.
They're getting them from Americans.
I think they're all sitting in a bunker and watching Candace and Tucker.
Well, that's why Iran International TV played Tucker the other night.
That's what they're doing.
Exactly.
They're getting their talking points. And I think J.D. Vance is getting his talking points from his buddy Tucker as well.
Here is a tweet. If Kari Lake does not do anything about this gross blow to journalism, which is reflecting the news and voice of Iranians, reflecting at this juncture in our history, it is all on all reporters and staff at Voice of America Farsi to resign. Being complicit with a liar who wants to drive an agenda in the midst of a revolution is treason. What is this about? Voice of America, are they not broadcasting into Iran?
Can you show the next picture in that tweet as well? Because that's the key.
Yep.
There you go. Kari Lake has been blocking Iranians who are voicing concern about Voice of America Farsi under supervision of Kari Lake not reporting accurate information. It is very important. She goes on about Voice of America as anything but censorship, but she is blocking. I have tens of Iranian accounts blocked by Kari Lake since last 48 hours for simply she wasn't attacking or anything. She was just concerned. And Iranians are being blocked by Kari Lake.
But hasn't Voice of America been basically a tool of the CIA for decades, guys?
Yes, but that doesn't mean Kari Lake should defend Voice of America.
No, I agree with you. I agree. All right, yes. Anni Cyrus is liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Dr. Woods is andywoodsministries.org, and Shahram is TILministry.com, right? TILministry.com. Hold right there, guys. Guys, be sure to stay tuned for Crosstalk with Jim Schneider coming up next on the VCY America Network and also at vcy.org. Be back Sunday night as I teach you the book of Daniel. Take care. And we're back with WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and you here on Worldview Tube. All right, Dr. Woods, let's come back to you. What else are you thinking about as you watch all this in the Middle East? Any other biblical prophecy thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, one of my major thoughts is Rosh, or Russia, also one of the invaders in the last days. And we're all old enough to remember Glasnost, Perestroika, Gorbachev. I remember just being laughed at by people because I said the character of Russia hasn't changed at all. It's just kind of 2 steps backward, 3 steps forward. And I felt that way at the time because of Ezekiel's prophecy. So all of this talk about, peace breaking out in Iran, the regime is going to be toppled, as much as from a human standpoint, I hope that's true. I just don't see the long-term character of Persia or Iran in terms of the regime changing. And guess what? I ended up being right. It was Putin, Russia, that invaded, I think it was Georgia, in 2008, and all of a sudden the bear that was sleeping woke up and got hungry. And so I'm seeing that kind of same type of thing. I guess all this talk about, peace breaking out in Iran, we're going to have a kingdom, etc. I guess I'm looking at it with a healthy dose of skepticism, particularly when, as I said before, there's a demonic presence over the government of Persia.
Now, I bet you don't want to hear that, do you, Annie or Shahram?
It's not that I don't want to hear it. It's that one thing I'm nowhere near knowledge when it comes to Bible compared to all three of you. But one thing I do know is to not help free children of God because we're awaiting something that we don't even have a timeline for. I'm against that.
Well, that would be consistent with us here in America, because we're like trying to restore our republic. Yeah. Or we could say, well, you know what? It's all going to go to hell in a handbasket anyway, and a tribulation and Antichrist and one world government and persecution and mark of the beast. So why care anyway? Our job is to occupy and be salt and light until he returns. Yeah. And that's, of course, I guess what you guys, particularly as former Iranians, are calling for, both Annie and Shahram.
Yeah. Brandon, can I just offer this clarification? I mean, what I'm talking about is prophecy. I'm not talking about our responsibility. I mean, I wrote a whole book on the Bible and voting. I wouldn't write a book like that if I didn't believe we didn't have some kind of role, to play in terms of restraining evil. I mean, the Nazis would have never been overthrown, slavery would have never been abolished, etc. I'm just looking at it from a long-term perspective, because that's the question I was asked.
Right. It's fair. And of course, we don't know if we end up having a free Iran for a period of time, and then 2 or 3 years later, we see something happen, and we're right back in the same spot we're in now, and Bible prophecy is right back on track according to what we're expecting. I mean, there's nothing that says that can't happen, right, Shahram?
Or it might be 200, 300 years from today. That's my point.
Depending on...
Please, Lord, not 300 years.
No, Annie, I think that the reason Dr. Woods and I and Brandon feel is close is because we know that Israel is a key sign in that last generation. The rebirth of Israel has upended everything.
And they want their temple. And which, by the way, the prince mentioned how Iran, Persia helped them build their temple. Did he not today, Annie?
Yes, referring to Cyrus the Great. And that's why he's referring to that Abraham Accords to become Cyrus Accords, which is centered around free Israel, because that's what Cyrus did for them.
Let's go to this.
So in that sense, in that sense, I was just defending Dr. Woods in what he's saying in that, yes, I mean, we want the liberation from Islam. But of course, my concern is because there's been a great growth of the underground church in Iran from persecution, is that a secular Iran obviously is free, but is still not following Christ. So prophecy is still going to advance, and I think that it's very likely that even if Pahlavi takes over and joins the Cyrus Accord, that's still marching towards false peace. I think that's Dr. Wood's point that I agree, is that ultimately we're still marching towards false peace. If Iran helps, can you imagine? Pahlavi takes over, and then they help Israel build the third temple. Well, now we're marching towards.
I know. That's prophecy. What I was thinking today when he made reference to Iran helping them build the temple under Cyrus. Thought, well, if he comes in, he helps them rebuild the next temple.
Right. So that's the concern there. Long term is God's word is God's word. It will come to pass.
Right. And we're not saying we're opposed to the people having their temple.
Right.
We're not saying that. We're just saying we know it's coming and it'll be eventually defiled. Per Daniel. Look at this, where we have to go. The outcome of the collapse of repressive forces in Iran. Khomeini has turned to his hired thugs in Hezbollah, a group of Bashar Assad supporters who fled to Iraq after his fall, announced with the publication of this video that they are ready to be deployed to Iran and suppress the protests against Khomeini in Iran. In other words, help that's been promised needs to get there, because more butchers are on their way to Iran. Right, Annie?
5,000 of them from Iraq have already arrived in Iran yesterday morning.
All right, take care, guys.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview.
July 6, 2005. This is Tom Harper. Man figures plankton stopped his rare cancer. We got more of a response